there are a lot of fandoms that I don't like at all, and which is really ironic because I am a fan of a lot of stuff as well. Like, not only do I have like a bunch of video games that I enjoy, but I also have a huge amount of anime and manga that I also really like as well. But that being said, I tend to just avoid fandoms for uh, certain reasons. Like, for example, Breaking Bad fans can't stop making the same fucking jokes over and over again. And I kind of don't blame them because let's face it, Breaking Bad has been over for what, 10 years? So it kind of makes sense that they don't really have much material to work with. Same for, well, no, I want to say Better Call Saul fans. Better Call Saul fans don't have the impact that Breaking Bad fans have had. But another, like for example, right, one fandom I'm not a big fan of would be Persona fans. I like how these shadows can talk. Like for example, Persona 1 and 2 fans think that they're better than everybody else because they play Persona 1 and 2. And, you know, as someone who's played Persona 1 and 2, I can confirm Persona 1 is very boring and outdated. And Persona 2 is aged better, but is one of the easiest games I've ever beaten. Also, the ending is complete garbage, by the way. The Persona series wouldn't have gotten better until Persona 3, 4, and 5. Now, that sentence I just said right there most likely would have put a Persona 2 fan on suicide watch. Persona 3, 4, and 5 fans really annoy me because they often have very samey opinions, and yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that. You know, like for example, you go on online and you'll risk seeing an article saying something along the lines of how Persona 4 changed my life or saved my life, and yeah, I mean, I get it. Art, that's the power of art, but I don't really care. Another thing about Persona 2 fans is that they tend to hate on Persona 3, 4, and 5 for being way more popular and successful. And, you know, that's just really interesting and funny in my opinion. Again, though, like, being a Persona 2 fan isn't really anything to brag about. Like, I can understand the mindset of Dark Souls fans because Dark Souls are hard games and it can be very rewarding to beat a boss fight. But with Persona 2, I don't. I mean, gameplay wise, is really nothing to brag about. I play better turn based combat games, and it's not because Persona 2 is old. For example, I love me a good old classic JRPG like Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VI. The problem with Persona 2's combat is not only is it easier than any Final Fantasy game, but it's also way more slow and sluggish. I just don't get why people worship Persona 2 outside of its cast of generic anime characters. And anytime a video revolving around Persona pops up on my feed, I just immediately click the don't recommend button. Like, I just can't really stand these losers because like they just make these overly long, boring videos just stating the obvious. And to be honest, a lot of these Persona fans are just actually, I've been giving this guy a chance. He actually has some interesting takes. Metal Gear Solid fans are some of the most awful people on earth and like always dick sucking Hideo Kojima, thinking that Hideo Kojima is the second coming of Christ. Oh my goodness, Metal Gear Solid 2 predicted the future. Oh my goodness, Metal Gear Solid 2 predicted AI. Yeah, there were totally not other pieces of media that predicted, you know, or try to warn us about the horrors of AI. Like 2001 Space Odyssey totally wasn't a thing back in the 1960s. But yeah, like there's even like a nickname for it called the Cult of Kojima, which is yeah, it's pretty accurate. They act like Hideo Kojima like got a magic wand and just wished the Metal Gear Solid games into existence, while also conveniently ignoring that Metal Gear Solid, like these games were made by hundreds of other people. Hideo Kojima is just a figurehead. He didn't just magically make the games by himself. I don't even think he really worked on the gameplay. I think that was someone else. Hideo Kojima just did the directing and writing from what I researched. But there are all sorts of people working on MGS. It's not just Hideo Kojima. The problem with Yakuza fans is that they really try hard to, you know, defend the series from criticism. which is pretty much every fandom. I mean, I hear about TF2 fans actually defending the horrible changes that TF2 has made. I'm not a TF2 fan, so I can't really give any input. But for example, right, Yakuza fans will even go as far as defending Young Yi doing the voice for Kiryu. And another thing about Yakuza fans I don't like is that there's also that certain set too, who are like, you actually play the games in English dub? Oh my god, why are you playing Yakuza in English dub? You should just stare at subtitles on the bottom of the screen. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. First of all, Yakuza is not like real life Japan. Like, I hate to break it to you, but in Japan, nobody just starts random brawl fights in suits. In Japan, there's no people crawling on the walls and whatnot and doing karate and jujitsu and all that other type of over-the-top shit you see in Yakuza games. Yakuza, despite having a pretty realistic aesthetic and art style, is still based on over-the-top fiction. So the ideal of playing a Yakuza game in English dub, I don't really see much harm in. I mean, I play these games in Japanese, don't get me wrong. Heck, most of these Yakuza games I'm showing off right now have not been translated into, the English dub. And I think that Young Yi is horrible, but being judgmental over people playing Yakuza in English dub is just retarded. Like, you have nothing better to do with your life than, judge how other people play a game. And personally, I think Yakuza 7 actually does have a solid English dub. A lot of the English cast in Yakuza 7 are also from Persona 5, and nobody really complained about that game's dub. I feel like Ichiban's English voice actor did a phenomenal job. I would have played Yakuza 8 in English if it wasn't for Young Yi coming in to ruin the day. Final Fantasy fans are in constant denial. Like, they'll say something like, oh, well, Final Fantasy had to change because turn-based combat is outdated, even though games like Clair Expedition 33 and Baldur's Gate 3 go to show that turn-based combat is still strong today as it was back then. In fact, it's grown even stronger since, Baldur's Gate 3 and Expedition 33 sold stupidly well. And here's the thing, Final Fantasy 16 came out, 3 years ago? And people already forgot about it. Like, it's not one of the most talked about games. Meanwhile, something like Final Fantasy 10 came out 20 years ago. Almost 30 years ago. And people still talk about this game to this day. Final Fantasy 7 and 6 are almost 40 years old, and people still talk about these games to this day. The sad and unfortunate truth is that modern Final Fantasy, or at least Final Fantasy games after 12, don't have the lasting impact compared to, classic Final Fantasy, besides Final Fantasy 14, but that's more of a live service game than it is a Final Fantasy game, in my opinion. And I'm not really a big fan of live service games because they tend to lack a story that's actually good or memorable. Plus, you need to constantly keep up with updates and do a monthly subscription service. Like, nah, screw that. At least with Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, and 10, I don't have to worry about, paying a monthly fee just to keep up with the games. I can just play the games anytime I want. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Did I just imply that Final Fantasy 8 was good? Sorry, I tend to mix that up. Final Fantasy 8 was total horse shit. And to be honest, Final Fantasy 10, I mean, this game isn't bad or anything like that, but it is one of the weaker and more forgettable Final Fantasy games. At least compared to Final Fantasy 6 and 7 and 9. Like, story-wise, Final Fantasy 10 is a total downgrade from Final Fantasy 9. And man, let's just talk about cartoon fandoms for a second, I could easily just say Rick and Morty fans bad, but to be honest, I think Rick and Morty fans have been bullied into submission. Like, they already got to deal with a bunch of annoying cartoon essays, and Rick and Morty has already had some of its own controversies with the Justin Roiland scandal and whatnot. I don't know. I feel like Rick and Morty should have just died years ago. I'm actually amazed that it's still going on, but to be honest, asking why Rick and Morty hasn't been canceled yet is a very stupid question, because the creators clearly have fun making the show, and also because, it's a very profitable. Like, if asking or demanding for Rick and Morty to be canceled is just retarded, because you're pretty much just telling a bunch of artists to go home and starve to death while also telling Adult Swim to not make any money. But there are other cartoon fandoms that I don't like. Like, I love Futurama and Classic Simpsons, but I can't stand Futurama and Classic Simpsons fans. Like, they are so smug, especially Futurama fans. Like, they feel the need to overanalyze every single joke in the show. Like, Futurama fans were the OG Rick and Morty fans, to be honest. Also, that guy, that Pickle Rick guy, that was fake. This was staged. He actually did an interview with the YouTuber Monkey Jones. If you're curious, go check it out. Like, this guy actually had the police actually had to investigate this guy. But yeah, you know, I just don't like Futurama fans and BoJack Horseman fans. I love BoJack Horseman, but for some reason, BoJack Horseman fans think that there's some sort of like with BoJack Horseman fans, these people think that they have a deep understanding of the human psyche and that they understand depression and they like to self-diagnose themselves despite having no real experience with depression whatsoever. And that actually jump scared me. But yeah, just screw BoJack Horseman fans. Now, Nintendo fans are some of the worst people on the platform. Like, they will just defend Nintendo to this dying breath. And anytime you criticize Nintendo, they'll immediately just go, "Oh, well, you're just a PS5 console enjoyer. You don't understand Nintendo. Oh, I love me some 30 FPS. Oh, I love overpriced baby games." And I'm just gonna say it, I think the reason why so many Nintendo fans are just super defensive is because of autism. And don't get me started on the Zelda fans. Like, oh my goodness, that fandom is a total mess. Like, first of all, Zelda fans can't make up their fucking mind on whether or not the series is still good or not. Like, it seems like no matter what the creators of Zeldas do, someone's gonna end up being pissed off. Like, that time when Wind Waker came out, Zelda fans were pissy that it looked too cartoony. Or, like, when Breath of the Wild came out, Zelda fans were pissy that the game was open world or something like that. And to be honest, I don't even get why... Well, no, I do get why Ocarina of Time is celebrated. Because, you know, at the time, keyword at the time, during the 1990s, Ocarina of Time was impressive. However, you know, when I first played the game, you know, the story was basic as hell, underdeveloped characters, boring, repetitive gameplay. Like, I don't really see the hype behind Ocarina of Time. Also, the game has a very empty feeling map, you know? And Majora's Mask, that game is shit too. It's basically just Ocarina of Time, but oh no, now you can't afford to explore or take your time. You actually gotta deal with this stupid ass time travel and end of the world mechanic. Like, fuck Majora's Mask. Like, I don't care if you like Majora's Mask because themes about sadness or death. Majora's Mask gameplay is just pure shit. So are the bosses too. Some of the lamest bosses I've ever seen in a video game. And yet, for some reason, the game is celebrated because, once again, themes. My experience with Zelda is that I played Ocarina of Time, Link to the Past, that game is boring by the way, Majora's Mask on 3DS, A Link Between Worlds, that was the best one, and Breath of the Wild. You know, I still need to play Tears of the Kingdom to form an opinion on it. And overall, you know, the Zelda series is just not that interesting. I just don't see the hype or why this has a fandom, you know, outside of, you know, it may be entertaining autists. Like, Nintendo just genuinely has one of the biggest man-baby adult children audience I have ever seen in my entire life.
Show me your true form!
And, you know, another thing that confuses me about Zelda fans is that they keep saying that the series has good storytelling. And I'm like, where the fuck is the good story? It's Link going out of his way to save Princess Zelda, and saving the day at the end. That's pretty much every Zelda game, except for some shitty mobile Zelda game that nobody's ever really played. And Majora's Mask, which even then, Majora's Mask has a moment where you do gotta save a princess. These games, from a story perspective, are very basic and predictable. Like, just go play a better game. Go play some Xenoblade Chronicles.